So today, ladies and gentlemen, we have the ultimate genius, Joey Phillips, on the call with me today. And he brought up the neatest thing for us to be able to visit about. We're basically going to be talking about fear, consciousness, microtubules, atomic water, terahertz waves, and the genes involved in them. So this is going to be a lot to cover. So what we're going to start off with, Joey dropped an excellent intro post that we're going to talk about with. But his post was labeled Fear, Consciousness, Microtubules, and the Divine Frequency. So before jumping into his post, what we're going to take a look at is that researchers have found a gene for fear. And so we're going to come back and we're going to bring this back over to Joey's original post about fear, consciousness, and microtubules. So scientists have known that fear forms in the amygdala. It's this almond-shaped gray mass of matter. And the amygdala is heavily involved in trauma response and trauma memory encoding. So by using this gene and knowing about this area of the brain, we're going to now move into what microtubules are, because these are all linked together. So what microtubules are, you have little structures within your cells that are called microtubules. What they are, they're the antennas that funnel in your reality from the quantum realm of probability and collapse it into actuality. As we know that consciousness isn't just found in the brain, as Nikola Tesla says, my brain is only a receiver. These ideas are that, like, when we get ideas, they're not ours, they come from somewhere else. And our consciousness isn't just housed in our brain, it's in every cell in your body, and it's in these little structures called microtubules. And so what microtubules do, these little tubes. And what they do is they take this stream of reality that you've got that relates to your subconscious programming, your mood, your frequency, your level of health, and the situations around you. You constantly have a soul stream, for lack of a better way to put it, that is being beamed to you from your soul, from this quantum realm where anything is possible. But we have to collapse the chaos of anything that's possible into what is happening to us right now. And this essentially is what microtubules do. They collapse these infinite possibilities into your stream of consciousness and your stream of reality. So the things that come into your reality field, your everyday events, you have this, it's like having like your own personal Wi-Fi is being beamed to you of your actual stream of consciousness collapsing into your actual reality and your physical body. That's what these microtubules do, is they house human consciousness. They are the little gateway, these little tubes that take all of the things that could happen. Think of like on top of your on top of the roof on your house, you know, people that used to have antennas for TV stations. That's literally what these microtubules are, is they're the antennas for your own reality show that pick up that frequency and bring it to you. So
yeah, they're like the quantum tunneling. They're little like pipe structures, and they tunnel. They literally will tunnel the signal. And when you say cellular antennas, you have little microcilia, they're called, and those are your cellular antennas, and they are intimately involved with microtubules. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Totally okay. So think of them as like that little antenna that people used to put on their house to tune into, you know, TV stations. This is literally, it's the TV show called Your Reality is what microtubules work on. And so the part we're going to look at is that evidence shows these resonate with terahertz, gigahertz, megahertz, kilohertz, and hertz frequencies. Terahertz are one of the strongest ones, and we'll come back to that. So these conductive resonances originate in the terahertz quantum bipole oscillations. Joe, you want to break us down what that actually means?
Yeah, so basically you can send signals, you can also receive signals, and those frequency waves that you emit and can also receive are involved with microtubules. But what this is essentially saying is that microtubules are able to be influenced through the terahertz frequency, and then that goes on to essentially impact the neurotransmitters, is what that paragraph is saying.
Yep. So your stream of reality coming in actually dictates the neurotransmitters that are made in your body. And without complicating this, we're going to go to a little bit, break this down, make it a little bit easier. It's well known that applying terahertz frequency waves to the body has a calming and relaxing effect. So this is where we kind of want to move to next, is researchers find a gene for fear. Now, everybody knows all about the 5G that's blasting all around us. We've got HARP. We've got all of these electromagnetic weapons that are everywhere. And so we kind of take a seat. We take a look at they're now pumping out the new fear programming coming for the fall in order to COVID's coming back, and we got to have masks and lockdowns. Understand that that is only one part of, I call that a psychic attack. That's something that they're injecting your consciousness with this fear on that macro level. But what's also possible to do, and you decide whether this is happening or not, is use these electromagnetic weapons as well that can be pumped out through Wi-Fi, 5G, 4G, 3G, pumped into the ionosphere, HARP, all of these other things. So they know well, they're very familiar with how this gene works and what it does. This gene for fear of, gosh, when did this come out? 2005. Is the researchers have found this. So we're going to instead, we're going to switch away from there's the fear being pumped out. And rather than focus on the fear and the component of what is possible to do in the negative component, let's focus on the solutions. And so there's an article called Consciousness, Cognition, and the Neuronal Cytoskeleton. It says a new paradigm needed. And so they're basically saying the same thing that we said in the beginning, viewing the brain as a complex computer of simple neurons cannot account for consciousness nor essential features of cognition. They're essentially saying we can't look at consciousness being found in the brain. Single cell organisms with no synapse perform purposeful intelligent functions using their cytoskeletal microtubules. So here we're coming back to microtubules. So what they're saying is single cell organisms that don't even have brains are able to fulfill purposeful and intelligent functions by utilizing their microtubules. And so this also works in faster quantum and classical processing inside neurons, but evidence itself shows similar patterns of conductive resonance repeating in terahertz, gigahertz, megahertz, and this inside of our microtubules, so that these conductive resonance apparently originate in these quantum dipole oscillations. So to dumb this down and break this down, it means consciousness is found being funneled in from somewhere else. It's not just in your brain. Your brain is only a receiver, but it's the macro receiver. The micro receiver that is ultimately infinitely has so much more surface area to pick up as an antenna and funnel the stream of reality into your actuality. This is where these microtubules come in. So the brain needs to be, look more of like a hierarchy with this quantum and classical processes, that consciousness and cognition are originating inside microtubules. And we can kind of take a look at this of say a person has a particular set of just gifts that they've got, that you're looking at it, be like, where did this person get this ability? Because we can't look at the brain and we can't look at their raising and their upbringing and their environment and their their diet. Like it can't account for it. Why is somebody, this 4-year-old, a master pianist who just has this capacity to play piano for some reason at a master level at ages 4, 5, or 6? They have a particular soul stream that is being broadcast to them that their microtubules are picking up, and their brain will respond to this and bring it in, but it's not originating in the brain. It's originating somewhere else. And so
they actually say that the oscillations that get inputted into the microtubules resemble a musical scale.
it literally looks like music. So your soul is playing this cosmic orchestra that your microtubules are picking up and bringing your stream of your reality show and your reality of a symphony that you are is being broadcast and picked up by microtubules. And so when the researchers found this gene for fear, we find it has a really large thing to do. Where here's the gene that Joey picked up for us of saying the STMN1 gene or the Stathmin 1. This gene, what's important, this gene belongs to the Stathmin family of genes. It encodes ubiquitous cytophosphoproteins as a function, intercellular relay. That's not so important. The encoded protein is involved in the regulation of the microtubule filament system by destabilizing microtubules.
Yeah, so in other words, the fear, the impact of the fear signal is going to impact this gene, and then the trickle-down effect, the domino effect, is that it's going to deorganize the microtubules, which is your higher brain function. Yeah. So in other words, fear disconnects the ability of the microtubule to connect to source. That makes sense?
It prevents the assembly and promotes disassembly of microtubules. So this fear gene that they found, which is right over here, this STMN1 gene, this gene literally starts to break apart your microtubules or your ability to funnel into consciousness. And one other thing we want to talk about, just to kind of, before we bring this into the solution, atomic water channel controlling remarkable properties of a single brain microtubule. Listen, atomic water isn't a term I made up. This is one that came from 10 years ago, that water it has this other completely capacity to move beyond regular water as we think it and turn into what's called atomic water, that literally this is what fills your microtubules. And why this is important is because water responds incredibly powerfully to terahertz waves. That is one of the strongest. It affects the hydrogen bonding. So if we go back to, I did a previous video of macropuncture. If you haven't watched that one yet, it's in the group. Go watch it, how we talk about it, that your body runs on terahertz waves. Terahertz waves are what every cell in your body is using to communicate, and it's being generated through these microtubules and picked up and broadcast, and the water amplifies the signal. That's the reason we're water-based beings, is because
water is life.
Because we're terahertz beings.
We are hydroelectric beings. We're up to 90% water in our bloodstream. Of course, water is going to, conduct electricity, and 90% of the microtubules filled with water, atomic water.
Yeah, a special kind of water. So the thing is, your biological function of terahertz wave generation causes normal water to turn into this atomic water, which fills the center of your microtubules. So as we go back, and we're going to wrap up this whole thing into one little pretty picture, and Joey and I can put this into a much deeper conversation later, but we're already going like way over the top.
Oh, show them the image of the actual microtubule. Scroll down. There's an image down there. Pull that up. It's so cool.
Here it is. Here's your actual microtubule. This is like your TV antenna for your reality right here.
Yeah.
This humdinger right there. So they're talking about how this is what makes this device so neat when we talk about it. I just posted something about PEMF, but we're focusing right now on terahertz. What ends up happening through fear being broadcast out, not only as the psychic attacks through the media and the crowds and the masses and the hype, we also have electromagnetic weapons that can amplify this, hit this. What all of this is doing is destabilizing your microtubules and preventing the assembly of them. Fear is the lowest vibrational state you could be in, because fear is useless. If I get angry, that's still a low-level emotion, but that anger can be channeled into doing something. If I'm sad or depressed, I can channel that into writing a song or playing piano. But when there's fear, all you do is shrink, and you stop, and you get
it literally shrinks the bubble around you. Like if you were literally to take an image of the frequencies that are coming off, I call it your bubble. Fear just shrinks it considerably.
So there's another topic we can talk about orchestrative objective reduction, and that basically is how consciousness is external of us and it's collapsed. But the key thing is that, I'm sorry, I got a bug. The key thing to note is here, this fear that is broadcast causes your antennas to your personal soul stream antennas. It causes them to disassemble and prevents the assembly. So what is important here? What are we talking about? By utilizing a terahertz wave device, such as the OlyLife P90, we have the capacity, because if we pump in terahertz waves in this beneficial frequency, this starts the hyper-assembling of your microtubules. This causes your body to start moving out of the fear range and start drastically. Your body does this automatically when you get into a good mood, when you're living healthy, eat good foods. Your terahertz waves get stronger in the body, which then causes greater microtubule assembly and preservation. So by utilizing this device, we're cheating. It's a way to basically fight back against the programming, to say, like, we're moving beyond even just fear. Like, if you want to become the most authentic, shiny, brilliant, largest frequency, highest frequency consciousness integration machine, the faster and better that you can assemble these microtubules, the higher your frequency is going to be, the higher your consciousness is going to be, the faster you're going to be able to integrate solar flares, everything happening in your reality around you. It's not just processed up here. It's processed in every cell across every component of your entire being through these microtubules. So the reason Joey's so damn smart is because he's got all this microtubule assembly happening all the time. That's
also, like, viruses and pathogens can hijack the microtubule organization center, it's called, and steal the signal from you as well. They're essentially energy siphons.
Yeah, they're little
like vampires.
Yeah, little computer viruses that can insert yourself in there and steal those bits of your reality through your microtubules.
Believe it.
So when we start pumping terahertz waves into the body, these microtubules become much more resilient to external hijackers. That can be fear, psychic attacks, the electromagnetic weapons everywhere, and even biological little vampires, we'll call them. In terms of viruses, they can't insert themselves into the microtubule assemblies because the terahertz waves in your quantum water are so much stronger. And this is where we're coming in with this terahertz wave device, the P90. We didn't even touch on PEMF yet. We'll get back to that. We're talking enhancing your stream of consciousnness, building this microtubule array assembly in you to funnel your soul stream in a drastically higher level, that this has a cascade of not only biological effects, but your ability to process information moves through these microtubules and this atomic water. So
one of the most important things you can do for yourself is to enhance microtubule function in the body.
It's huge. If you want to talk about your memory across all of time and space, your microtubules are the answer to it. And how do we keep them strong? How do we keep them from breaking? And how do we build them faster? Terahertz waves.
Yeah, any kind of brain dysfunction, cognitive dysfunction, and that can manifest itself in many ways. PTSD. I think we all have PTSD, fear, anxiety, all this stuff. Moving even into like serious brain disorders as well. Microtubules plays a part in every single aspect of your brain, your central processing unit.
So when we're talking neurotransmitters and nerve health and all of these other components, microtubules and terahertz waves come before all of that. Before your cell does anything, it sends a terahertz wave frequency saying, here's what I'm thinking I'm going to do before it does it.
And we don't need to fear these things. The media does a good job of pumping all this information out, and 95% of the population is going to bite on the fear propaganda, hook, line, and sinker. And the more you think about it, the more it manifests. It's like someone sitting on their deathbed in a hospital, there's like cancer or something like that, thinking, I'm sick. That just is like a snowball effect. You're going to get sicker, you're going to get sicker, you're going to get sicker. So what we're suggesting is that if you can shift modes from that fear over into like love is the opposite of fear, you can increase the size of your bubble, right? And you're in the ultimate control of how your body reacts to the thoughts that are coming in through the stream, all involved with microtubules.
And so to kind of end this video, what I'm going to do in full transparency is tell everybody, you don't need this device. You can do it yourself. However, here's the thing. If I got to dig a hole, I could do it myself with my hands. Like if I wanted to shift my reality drastically, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, microtubule based, we're going to make this akin to digging a hole. I could dig the hole myself, but if God's going to give me a shovel or a backhoe to dig this hole faster, that's what this P90 terahertz device is. This is a backhoe to help you dig that hole instead of you going in and clawing it out with your hands. So
it's like the story of the guy who prayed to God for help to get saved, and he sent the boat first, and then eventually he sent the helicopter, and the guy was like, "No, God's going to save me." And then eventually the guy died, and he got to heaven. He's like, "Hey, how come you save me?" He's like, "I sent you a boat, sent me a helicopter." It's like,
it'd be like God feeds the birds, but he doesn't throw the worms into the nest.
That's right.
You got to take action is the entire point. That and where I want to look at this too, beyond just like, oh, sell, buy a device or get it, or what I want to look beyond this is I want you to look bigger picture. Everybody, just sit with me for a minute. Imagine what we can do if when this starts getting out to everybody, that all you do is this thing's silent. You put your feet, I can have my feet in it right now type of deal. Like I could be sitting here doing this. If we can start getting this out to the masses, because it has so much more profound effects in the things that people will notice for the most part, of like the physical health, has tons of benefits. When we can start spreading this sort of a thing out there that provides this level of value for a one-time purchase, instead of take a supplement, go to the chiropractor, get your acupuncture, do the massage, get the craniosacral. If we can do this one thing that's a one-time purchase, we spread this to the masses.
100th monkey.
100th monkey event. This is how we start changing the world on a level to where the mass population starts to become so much more immune and resilient to these different attacks that are coming, from the psychic attacks to the electromagnetic attacks to even just your health being low in general, of raising the frequency of the planet across there. We can sit here and grow all the plants and all these other, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. We're just saying if there's a solution to this problem, because you can't create a problem without simultaneously creating the solution. That's the point of what we're working with here. If God's going to send you a backhoe, use the backhoe. You don't have to fight it all by yourself. The odds are, for lack of a better way to put it without fear-based, like they're stacked pretty heavily against you. Now, granted, no weapon formed can prosper if you've got God in the equation, but God's also going to tell you to take action. Once in a while, you got to pick up that sling and that stone sort of deal. This is what this is. So to reiterate, you don't need this, but the amount that it will help transform not only your life, but your loved ones, the people around you, and even the muggles that I still love them, but I don't like what's happening. This is how we start to transform the world on a massive scale. That this is how we have to all get out of this together. So how do we help?
Yeah.
Let's focus on the solution, not so much the problem. It's a lot of fun to kind of talk about the problem, because once you understand it, you go, well, it's kind of neat. It kind of takes its power away. That you go, well, I'm just going to regulate my microtubules then. Well, how do you do that? Well, there's a lot of ways. Number one, though, terahertz waves, P90 foot device. It's super powerful and has the PEMF, and
extremely calming. Anyone who's used the terahertz knows the calming effect that it has on you, which is the opposite of the fight or flight response induced by fear.
Yep, and it's the opposite of PTSD response, where everybody, due to this mass PTSD that the
government Stockholm syndrome is what I call it.
Yeah, like it's instead of that, we're all living in that level of stress. If you can use something to cheat and get you out of that fight or flight, so you can start to thrive instead of survive. That's the point here. We're getting to thriving, not surviving. Change it. Take the action you need to do. Go get the worms that God threw out there. Use the backhoe when he gives it to you. As Joey said, take it on the helicopter, get on the boat. That's the point. Can you do it yourself? Absolutely. But if you got tools that are going to rapidly accelerate the rate at which you can transform your reality, use them. That's the point. So I would like to take the time to thank this genius over here, Joey Phillips, because this man, I wanted to tell Adam, well, we should share this too, and should share this too. We could have made a 2-hour video here easy. So we're going to break it up into pieces, I think is what Adam's wanting to do. Yep. So we
got so much more to share.
Joey and I are going to be pumping this out left and right for you guys, because when I told you at the beginning that this was world changing, and it is fascinating, Joey's going to help me bring this to the table, because his level of genius that he's going to be able to pump out with me without even trying. I'm going to come like steal his microtubules or something and just invite him over. Come on over, Joey. I'm going to transfer these microtubules so I can think on your level.
You going to hijack my signal?
I hope so. Feel like, if I give you a hug, does that count?
I'll give it away. Just got to get in my bubble first.
So
bring it in,
gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in, and stay tuned, because we got so much coming. The sooner you start working with this, the better your life is going to be. So thank you, Joey, for your genius, brother.
Yeah. Much love. Thanks, you guys.